We got a great fight coming at the top of the year between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. I'm excited for this bout. I think this will be a great opportunity for both fighters to get in there and lay it all on the line. And this says a lot about the future of the 140-pound division, especially if the winner looks to stay active and fight the best at the division. Teofimo on fight night to bring a lot of skills, a lot of talent to the ring. You know, he's been in there fighting at a high level for a while. Teofimo's a guy who stays in shape year round. And I don't see no different with this fight, especially being that it's a big fight. I expect both guys to go in there and show their skills and show their talent. You know, Teofimo Lopez, like I said before, this guy has been working hard for a long time. This guy has been fighting at a high level for a long time. And say what you want about Teofimo Lopez, but he has been consistent. You know, whether you like him or his selection of opponents, he has been a consistent fighter. And, you know, on this channel, that's what we love in our fighters. We love our fighters to be consistent. We love our fighters to stay working on their craft. And we love when our fighters believe in themselves enough to step up and take on bigger and better opposition. Teofimo Lopez in this fight is going to have to work behind his jab. You know, he's going to have to use combinations because fighting a defensive fighter like Shakur from a distance, you know, he could pick shots and counterpunch all night and make it an easy night. But what Teofimo going to have to do is he's going to have to work behind that jab, try to make this a close range fight. You know, fighting in the clinch and just making this an aggressive fight that Shakur Stevenson is not accustomed to. A lot of guys talk about sneaky power. I believe Teofimo Lopez has sneaky footwork. You know, a lot of guys underestimate the importance of footwork in a fight, especially when you're fighting guys at a high level. It'll be interesting to see on fight night, you know, the plan that Teofimo Lopez's camp is able to draw up to close that distance, to make it uncomfortable for Shakur so that he's not comfortable fighting his fight. Teofimo Lopez on fight night, he's going to have to be the aggressor. You know, he's going to have to push the pace. You know, his aggression is going to have to be controlled. He's not going to be able to let Shakur fight his fight because if he does, you know, that's going to be an easy night for Shakur. He's going to have to go in there looking to disrupt everything that Shakur Stevenson does good. You know, you got to handicap Shakur of his best attributes. You know, fighting in the clinch, not staying at a distance, you know, throwing combinations on the inside. This can't be a fight for Teofimo that he's looking to fight on the back foot. This is not a fight for Teofimo Lopez to show his boxing ability. You know, he going to have to mix it up in there. You know, not one style was going to beat Shakur Stevenson. You know, you're going to have to box him. You're going to have to push the pace. You're going to have to be aggressive. You're going to have to be aggressive cutting the ring off. This is not a fight where Teofimo can just go in there, box a little bit, and sneak the dub. You know, we're going to have to see a Teofimo Lopez that we haven't seen before. Stevenson in there is just getting better and better. You know, the defense is getting better. The counter-punching ability is getting better. His awareness is getting better. And the more that he continues to develop into his own, it's going to be scary. You know, right now, I would say that he has the best defense in boxing. You know, I think that Shakur Stevenson has, you know, all the tricks in his arsenal to beat a guy like Teofimo Lopez. The world is not just looking for another Shakur Stevenson masterclass. You know, the world is looking for excitement, you know, especially how boxing is transitioning, you know, and I believe that Shakur Stevenson has what it takes. But like I said before, you know, oftentimes in his fights, you know, he's looking to get the W first as it pertains to looking to get the W while being impressive. You know, that's something that, you know, really puts a sour taste in fans' mouth, especially when they spending so much on these pay-per-views. You know, so it's going to be interesting on how Shakur Stevenson handles this. You know, does he turn his skills that he possesses into the ability to drop some of these guys, to stop some of these guys at a high level? Or is it a what you see is what you get? You know, Shakur going to come in there, great defense, looking to counter, pot-shotting, and getting the W. Because that's not what fans are looking for, you know, in the sport right now. Fans are looking for exciting performances. Fans are looking for fighters that's taking risks. And Shakur Stevenson hasn't showed that, you know, throughout his career. You know, the willingness to take these risks, the willingness to get in there and stop a guy, you know, that he's clearly outclassing. You know, we haven't seen that switch from Shakur. And if we don't see that on fight night, you know, it could be a sense where we might get a draw. You know, Teofimo's not a stranger to going 12. Shakur's not a stranger to going 12. If Shakur is able to counterpunch, you know, work his defense, be a little bit more aggressive, you know, I could see him taking this W. If Teofimo Lopez coming there, you know, with a lot of speed, you know, great footwork, you know, the ability to cut the distance, cut off the ring, you know, throw combinations on the inside, I could see Teofimo Lopez winning this bout. I could see this fight ending in a draw. You know, Shakur just not doing enough. You know, Teofimo trying to make some action out of the fight, but Shakur's just not doing enough. You know, when he is doing something, he's looking great. But when he's not doing anything, Teofimo's having the ability to, you know, get these judges to think that he's doing a lot more than he's doing. I would have to lean with Shakur Stevenson getting this dub by decision. But I don't feel like it's a bad money line wager on Teofimo Lopez. He has talent, he has skills, and he's somebody who is a student of the sport.